Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Dinozor Gaming, where we learn to be a better player. Today we are watching a matchup of giants, the top 4 or semifinals of Card Brawler Showdown, and we're going to be seeing Cad Bane on Tarkin Town, a staple since its inception in set 2, however playing a much more new age version with dozens of 1-drops, being the clear aggressor or beatdown in this matchup. Playing off against Emperor Palpatine on Cunning, piloted by the man, the myth, the legend, Charlie, who used this deck to win the planetary qualifier of New York. We're going to have to see if Palpatine has just enough anti-aggro tools to survive the early aggression coming from Cad Bane. And we're going to start this game off with a Greedo coming down, and is answered by Salacious Crumb. While that Crumb is not going to give you that healing on base just yet, it does leave a resource open to be able to use Palpatine's ability, finish off that Greedo and draw a card on top of it. Even with the Reckless Gunslinger coming in for a damage on each base, this play from Charlie not only saves 3 damage on the base, but also draws him a card, already giving him the card advantage in the matchup. We're now moving into turn number 2 here, and even if some of the early speed has been slowed down by Palpatine, we have a lot of new sturdy underworld units that have come out recently that Cad Bane utilizes extremely well. And we're going to start off with a quick swing onto the base for 2. And there's nothing really for Palpatine to do here other than simply develop the board. You're not too worried about that Gunslinger. So indeed, we're going to see a pass from Palpatine, and it's going to be answered by the Nihil Marauder from Cad Bane. Marauder, a 1/5 with raid 3, one of the highest raids we've ever seen. It is essentially a turn 2 4/5, one of the strongest statted units in the game. Charlie puts down that 38 and finishes off the Gunslinger, evening out the board state. But even with that, with the initiative, we see a swing for 4, already 7 damage on the base. It's going to be answered by the Contracted Hunter, a fantastic card here, 4/4 ambush that at the regroup phase would normally kill itself. But with a single resource open here, Charlie sets himself up to use the leader ability, kill off that Hunter himself anyways, and deal the last damage to that Marauder. But seeing this play coming, we see a McClunky come down for Cad Bane, take the Marauder back to hand, finish off that 38. A fantastic play by Cad Bane. Does also deal that extra ping damage for the Hunter, but the Hunter's going to die anyways, whether it is through Palpatine's ability or its own. And we see the Marauder finally come back down, and it's going to be answered by another McClunky. That is crazy. These players are just bouncing their own cards back to hand here, and already 3 damage on that Marauder. So that Contracted Hunter will be able to come back in and kill it right away regardless. That said, the initiative with these plays did end up back with Cad Bane, so even if you lose that Marauder, it's going to get that swing in for 4 here, setting your opponent already up to 11, which is more than a third of your base. Quite fast already, considering we're only in turn 4, and there's been quite a few defensive tools played from Palpatine to stem the bleeding, so to speak. Even with that, having already taken this much damage, it's gotta hurt. When you're playing Cunning and Command, there are not too many options for healing. You don't have all those options that Vigilance normally has. You need to rely on cards like Salacious Crumb or Reinforcement Walker to heal yourself back up, so you likely prefer to not take the damage in the first place. Now at the 5 resource turn here, there isn't much, there's no leader able to flip out just yet. Cad Bane is on 6, Palpatine on 8, but we do see the Legacy run in Palpatine's hand, a fantastic card here that not only does it threaten to clear out the entire board, but could be used with sneak attack or anything of the sort. Even Palpatine's own ability is able to kill it off, not only dealing the 6 damage from the when defeated, but also Palpatine's extra damage. It is an overwhelming barrage on legs that works extremely well in Palpatine's deck. But no, it looks like we're going to see a pass and a claim here, both players opting to skip this turn entirely. I'm not exactly sure whose favor that is in, so to speak. Cad Bane might not have had the right place for the turn, or simply wanted the time to get another swing in here, setting the opponent to 15, maybe wanted to get Cad Bane out. And we're going to see Palpatine answer with a Super Laser Technician. Quite the slow play, unfortunately for Charlie here. But the Cad Bane flip is answered by No Good To Me Dead. That saves him pretty much 8 damage from hitting his base, stopping the 4 damage this turn and next turn as well. Very masterfully baited here, so to speak. And you do still have 1 resource open to use Palpatine's ability, but now debating whether that's worth it. Because if you don't, looks like it doesn't matter. We're going to be seeing an Underworld unit come down, Cad Bane ping, finishes off that Super Laser Technician, makes sure that Palpatine is not able to use his ability. And on 2 resources, there's not much for Palpatine to do here. Turns out I lied. We're going to be seeing a sneak attack come down here. That Contracted Hunter will finish off the Guavian Antagonizer that was just played. Yes, it will take 2 damage, and it will definitely be dying at the end of the turn. There are no resources left for Palpatine to use his leader ability, but the Antagonizer draws him a card anyways. I'm going to see another 1-drop played here, and with no resources open, I don't think Palpatine can do anything else. So we're going to be seeing a... Oh my god, we have an early Zuckuss coming in here. Coming in ready with that sneak attack, dealing the 6 damage to the base. It will also be dying at the end of the turn, but both of these players showing that they don't care about their units. We will send them off to their deaths as long as they accomplish what they want to accomplish. And clearly they have, because we're already at 21 damage on Palpatine's base. Only 9 more to go, and already showing 7 damage in play here. Let's see if Charlie has the answer. Due to that Super Laser Technician, Emperor Palpatine is at 8 resources this turn. Cad Bane opting not to resource, staying at 6, and at 8, Palpatine is able to flip and take control of a unit that is injured, and at the moment that is the Nihil Marauder. That would definitely save 4 damage on your base, and on top of that, set yourself up for a trade into whatever new is played this turn. It is a precarious position here because a single misplay from Palpatine is going to definitely cost him the game. If you play into what your opponent expects you to do, there's a good chance that Cad Bane is ready for that Palpatine flip, because even if you were to flip here, steal that Nihil Marauder, that Stormtrooper is going to hit your base, putting you to 24, and at that point, if Cad Bane is holding a Ruthless Raider, it sets up exact lethal here. And so we're going to be seeing a Lothcat come down. Instead of stealing that Marauder, we're going to exhaust it here. Lothcat, one of those tech cards that a lot of people overlooked, but Palpatine uses it extremely well. It's another way of using no good to me dead, coming in, exhausting something, and then when you use your leader ability to kill it off, it will exhaust something else as well. And so we're going to see a smuggled out Hotshot Blaster come in on that Stormtrooper, dealing 5 to base, only 4 more to go. Palpatine is going to need to somehow clear out this entire board this turn. And so we're going to be seeing for 5 that Legacy Run come down as expected. A great play. Is it going to be enough though? Even if you were to use your leader ability here to kill off the Legacy Run, that is a total of 7 damage. It is enough to clear out everything other than Cad Bane, but Cad Bane is finally going to be able to attack next turn, and if you do that and lose the initiative, Cad Bane will absolutely be able to finish off your base. That said, we do have the option for Legacy Run to do just enough to that Cad Bane for that Palpatine flip to come up, steal the Marauder, and finish it off with a swing. So it's definitely a interesting position here. You see just another 1-drop played. 2 damage ping from Cad Bane going into the Legacy Run. It didn't matter because it was going to die regardless. And indeed, we're going to be seeing that play precisely. Legacy Run is defeated for Palpatine's ability. We're going to finish off the Stormtrooper for sure. Now, it's a question of where are we going to be putting that 6 damage? I think the safe bet is that we're going to be seeing at least 4 of that go on Cad Bane, 1 to finish off the muscle. Precisely what we see here. And with 2 resources open, we'll see if Cad Bane has a play ready. If Cad Bane is holding a no good to me dead, it would absolutely ruin all of the plans that Palpatine had. Waiting for that Tarkin Town. As soon as Palpatine came up and stole the Marauder, Tarkin Town is able to finish it off, and Palpatine indeed kills off Cad Bane. And looks like Cad Bane simply takes the initiative here. Does not have a 2-cost play, was more of a bluff, so to speak, or we're just waiting for it to use that Tarkin Town. Only 4 damage needed to be done on Palpatine's base, but with board control in Palpatine's favor, do you have the reach to take care of that? You kind of need something like a Ruthless Raider. It would be the perfect drop here because Palpatine has already flipped. It's not likely to be stolen in other means. And I mean, even if the Reinforcement Walker is played, there's a good chance that you still have enough to finish it off. We're going to see Cad Bane still not resourced, staying at 6 here. Palpatine up to 9. And we're going to see that Boss come down for 5. Kill that Lothcat to prevent the extra draw from Palpatine and an extra source of discard. And with Cad Bane's ping, just doing a little extra damage to that Palpatine, trying to wear it down. While the base damage does look to be in Cad Bane's favor, there's a good chance that Palpatine has stabilized here. We do also see 2 Bazines in the smuggle, and one of them is going to come out here, trying to see what is in the hand. Great play here. You notice that your opponent has simply a 1-drop and an upgrade. The sensible choice here as the Palpatine player is to not make your opponent discard anything. As tempting as it might be, you can deal with that 1-drop, and that upgrade won't be doing much to you, assuming you have a way to deal with it. And that's exactly what we see here. You don't want you don't want to give your opponent options that they did not previously have if you can deal with anything that's in their hand. And indeed, that Salacious Crumb is going to come down, starting up that healing train, taking himself just barely out of the range of lethal. And indeed, McClunky comes in, Salacious Crumb goes back to hand, finishes off Bosk, he comes down again for another healing. And it kind of seems like Palpatine has stabilized here. It's going to be very hard for Cad Bane to get the last bit of damage in at this point. On top of that, we did see a couple of Reinforcement Walkers in Palpatine's hand, and it seems like Cad Bane realizes this and says, all right, that's it. We can move on to game number 2. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to be jumping into game number 2 here. Both players have opted to side out and side in some new cards. We're going to see if those are going to be useful additions to their decks. And the initiative normally would have been with Cad Bane here, but opted to give it to Palpatine to try and bait out the first turn play. But instead, we see a pass and a claim, both players entirely skipping turn 1. You have to imagine that does not go well for Cad Bane. That said, we see the Boba Fett come down, another one of those fantastically statted 3 costs, 3/5 for 3 with a very strong on attack, and it is Underworld. It works with Cad Bane. It is answered by the Super Laser Technician for Palpatine, the ideal turn 2 play here. You haven't been taking any damage onto your base just yet, so you can afford to spend some resources to ramp up, and on top of that, deal a bit of damage to your opponent while you're at it, because why not, right? So we're going to see Boba Fett hit the base for 3, and indeed that Super Laser Technician is going to kill himself for the greater good, put itself into the resources, taking that Boba Fett down to 3 health, which is an important number here. It's able to be killed off by cards like McClunky, for example. But we see the champs Syndulla in Cad Bane's hand, played right into Cad Bane's trap here, ramping up, keeping up with that Palpatine, equalizing the resources, and developing a huge body on the board. 5/4 is very aggressively statted. Cad Bane, somehow, even with skipping turn 1, seems to have taken the early advantage. We see that Salacious Crumb come down, do a little bit of healing here, and with no resources left, Cad Bane simply is going to take the initiative. And indeed, we do see that McClunky come down, bounce the Salacious Crumb, finish off the Boba Fett, and a resupply is played. That's already the 3rd ramp we've seen in this game. This is going to skyrocket their tempo, both of them trying to get to their later cards so much faster. and it is working. Cad Bane is going to be able to flip up on turn 4 here, and with Champ Syndulla in play already, it's going to deal out quite a bit of damage if Palpatine doesn't have the answers here. For 2, we see a surprise strike played for a massive 8 damage on the base here. Already 10 on the base for Cad Bane. But we do see that legacy run in Emperor's hand. There is a way to deal with the board at the moment. Now we're going to be seeing a 5 resources played indeed for that legacy run. An interesting choice here, considering we do also have a Darth Vader in play. That Vader would have been able to come down and finish off that Syndulla, but I think we are preparing here in case of Cad Bane flip. Well, not in case of, we know that Cad Bane is going to flip, but this is a preventative measure. But it is answered by the Lurking TIE Phantom. Great choice here. When there's only 2 resources left, you're not able to waylay it or use any other means of bouncing it. Lurking TIE Phantom is immune to any other damage sources, which Palpatine usually relies on. And we're going to see both players opt to simply move on to the next turn. We do not see a Cad Bane flip. That is very curious. Seems like Cad Bane simply wanted the initiative to get another swing out of Champ Syndulla, just in case it dies. But instead, looks like Lurking TIE is going to hit base, worried about some form of a steal or exhaust. Of course, we have the option of Traitorous for Palpatine, but we're going to be paying 7 here, and that Vader is finally going to come down to finish off that Syndulla. Interesting play here from the Cad Bane. You would think that attacking with the Champ Syndulla first would have been a more interesting option at the moment, since it is much more likely for Champ Syndulla to be defeated. Plenty of options here for Palpatine to pull off from Darth Vader. Unlike a lot of other decks, this Vader doesn't pull out a lot of stats, but instead pulls off a lot of utility cards. And that's exactly what we're going to be seeing here with that Bazine and the Salacious Crumb, doing another healing off the base, and Bazine able to filter out the hand. We do see that Ruthless Raider finally in hand. You would have to think that that's what's going to be targeted here. That said, it could be an interesting option to not target that Ruthless Raider because your Palpatine has not come out yet. If your opponent does play Ruthless Raider at this point, you are able to simply use Palpatine's ability to give it a damage and then flip over and completely steal that. And it seems that we have decided to not discard anything, having seen that entire hand. Palpatine has decided that they can deal with whatever comes down at this point and opts to let his opponent keep his hand. A great play here, but that legacy run is now able to attack into that Lurking TIE, finishing it off, only taking 2 damage back. There have been some very big hits from Cad Bane this game already, but are they enough? Considering we're already at 8 resources here, both players ramped up so fast, but Cad Bane hasn't utilized that ramp as well as Palpatine has. For 3, we're going to be seeing that Mist Hunter come down and opt to not use the Cad Bane ability very smartly, because otherwise that legacy run would have immediately defeated itself to kill it off. That said, Palpatine can still do that using his own leader ability. So very debatable if that was worth doing. This does feel a little bit like a game of chicken. Both players are simply trying to do as many small actions as possible to try and see what their opponent is going to do to react to it. So it is a lot more of a mind games than a card games at this point. And Cad Bane finally flips over. We're gonna at least see the 4 damage here. There is no single action that Palpatine can take to get rid of that. Even if you were to use your leader ability on the legacy run, that is exactly 7 damage. Not quite enough. We're gonna see it nonetheless. And indeed, we're going to be seeing, is all of the damage going on it, or are we going to do at least one on the Hunter to steal it with the Palpatine flip? Yes, exactly. We're going to be seeing exactly one damage placed on that missed Hunter, setting it up for the steal with Palpatine. Not likely to be using that ability, but just an extra body for Palpatine never hurts, especially in space in case there's another lurking tie coming down. We'll see if Cad Bane has a trick here in store to try and save that Hunter. Nope, instead we're going to be seeing that Long Pike come in, likely going to be ambushing the Salacious Crumb to prevent further healing. Trying to see which, doing the Cad Bane ability, trying to see what your opponent is going to target first before deciding to ambush, but looks like instead we're not going to ambush in general. Just putting another body in play so that even if Palpatine is able to, even if Palpatine clears out your Cad Bane, you'll have that Forlom able to dish out some damage on the next turn. Very, very clever play here from Cad Bane. And indeed, we do see that Palpatine come out and steal the Mist Hunter, and with the initiative claimed for Cad Bane here, it is up to Charlie to decide which of these two units he likes least and which one he wants to take care of first. At the end of the day, they are both going to be doing 4 damage. Opts to attack into Forlom instead, sacrificing Bazine to deal an extra damage to Cad Bane, leaving it at exactly 1. That way, even if next turn you don't want to attack it directly, you could once again do the same thing and finish it off. On to the next turn here with the initiative. Cad Bane is likely going to be attacking base for 4 here. We're already at 17 on the base, so putting it up to 21 would be great. But we saw Cad Bane struggle in dealing 4 damage when the board is already stabilized. So it's going to be even harder now when you have to deal 9 from hand. That said, it is not impossible. So we're going to be seeing Salacious Crumb bounce back to hand here, dealing that 1 free damage to Cad Bane, setting up an extra healing as well, whenever you want. That said, the initiative now with Cad Bane, you are able to play that Ruthless Raider to finish off the Mist Hunter, but instead we see a Reckless Gunslinger come in, just dealing an extra 1 damage. Once again, simply dirtling here, trying to see what your opponent is going to do, but was that the right play? Remains to be seen. Paying 3 for a 1 health unit when your opponent is able to kill it off fairly easily with Palpatine's ability is an interesting play. And we're going to see a second Gunslinger come down here. Another 1 damage to each base. Looks like we did have some reach in unexpected ways. It's not much damage, but any damage is damage here when your opponent has to rely on Salacious Crumb healing 1 at a time. And we're going to see the Aura Sing come down. Essentially a 2-cost 3/4 due to the raid, and it has hidden. That means it is very unlikely for Palpatine to be able to get rid of it. You cannot attack into it here, and with only 3 resources open, there's not much that Palpatine can do other than perhaps waylay it. That said, if Palpatine opts to finish off the Legacy run with the Palpatine swing, you're able to completely clear the board with no issues whatsoever. So no matter what, I think Palpatine has the answer, and indeed that's what we're going to see here. Legacy Run comes down, dealing that 6 damage spread exactly evenly into that 6 health of units that Cad Bane had. Initiative is claimed here for Cad Bane. Let's see if Palpatine has something to do with the remaining 3 resources. We do see a couple of 3 drops in his hand. We could be dropping another Super Laser Technician if we so wish. Instead, for 2, we're going to be seeing that Lothcat come down. That way, just in case your opponent plays something too big, you can exhaust it instead of having to kill it. Another Salacious Crumb comes down, but due to the unique rule, it has to immediately kill itself, but just wanted that extra 1 healing. A very smart play from Charlie, realizing that at this point, a single point of damage could be the difference between winning or losing. Now moving up to 9 resources for Cad Bane, and that Ruthless Raider still in hand. You do have some form of dealing some damage. Let's see if Palpatine has any form of healing. Instead, we're going to be seeing that Neil Marauder come down here. Once again, just a 1-5 with Raid 3. And while that's very strong on turn 2, it's not very relevant this late into the game. Palpatine is able to attack into it, only taking 1 and then using its own ability or the ping to finish it off. And we're finally seeing that Ruthless Raider come down. Going to be dealing 2 damage to the Palpatine instead of finishing off the Mist Hunter. Very interesting play here. And only 7 more damage to go on the base. With all the resources tapped out for Cad Bane, most likely that's it for his turn. Now, Charlie has to decide how best to clear this board. We do see that Devastator in hand, and we do have 10 resources. You are able to completely block that Ruthless Raider out. That said, it is a somewhat risky play because Ruthless Raider is able to suicide itself into that Devastator for an extra 2 damage to the base. We're going to see Salacious Crumb go back to hand here, dealing a damage to that Marauder, setting it to 4, just enough to kill it off with Palpatine if necessary, or the Contracted Hunter that we have bounced back to our hand a long time ago. Playing that Crumb right back to heal another 1. And McClunking it back to hand, healing another 1. That Salacious Crumb alone has healed Palpatine's base so much. We have seen it go back to hand at least 3 times. Putting in work. I did claim earlier on that yellow-green does not have a lot of healing, but Charlie here proving me wrong, already having healed, I think, upwards of 5 health on the base, which is quite a lot in Star Wars Unlimited. We see that Hunter come down, finish off the Marauder, and Palpatine suicides it really quickly here, dealing enough damage to the Ruthless Raider, finishing it off with that Mist Hunter, taking the 2 damage to base, but clearing the board entirely here. Palpatine seems to be in complete control of the board at this point. Crumb comes right back down for another healing. And now, having drawn another 2 1-drops here, Cad Bane realizes that he just simply does not have it. And that is it for game number 2. That is it for the matchup. Well done. The winner is Emperor Palpatine. And with that, we see an end to the top 4 here. So we're going to be seeing Emperor Palpatine, Charlie moving into the finals versus Mother Talzin, who just beat up Kylo Ren in the last video. Spoiler alert, if you have not seen it, go watch it. So please leave a like, a comment, and subscribe, and let me know who you guys think is going to win between this Emperor Palpatine or Mother Talzin. And on that note, guys, I will see you guys next time.